Conrad's ready to go. Conrad's new to us this year. He's works for the Native Fish Society, doing all the advocating that's necessary to protect the streams in the Pacific Northwest for you, and he's just told me good news about the Nehalem River just today here. So he comes to us from McMinnville, where he tells me he was born in the gravel of the stream beds. So he must be the real deal. Thanks for joining us, Conrad.
Good evening, everyone. This is a poem about nettles. In lowland riparian wetlands, between the entangled banks, the nettle stands deeply serene, next to the sedges, among the edges of meadows, with its hollow hypodermic hairs, protecting its green leaf secrets. When the snow covers the mountains once again, who first picked these stems from the river's edge? The swift strip, off with the histamine needles, and laid down the woody core to ret. Who then peeled that outer bark and invited it in to dry by the fire, then pounding those nettles into those translucent fibers, and began rolling in the same direction, pinching them against one's skin to prevent the unraveling, twining together the individual strands. And when we get to an end, when the fiber is running thin, there's a new strand married in, and we all get to an end. The knots are tied and the meshes built to test the weight, pulled together around the willow hoop the dip net was made. I don't know who or when, but they were probably after salmon. There's still nettles that emerge from cold, wet ground in the late days of winter, and generations of people in as many rivers have reached into that water with their woven tapestry of the knotted world to feed their friends. Do you see the net in the nettles, or understand the medicine that is known in them? In legend it has been said, if we don't fish for salmon, they won't be again. When I get stung by a nettle, it reminds me to pay attention to the breaking strength, that we must know the individual fibers of ourselves and twist the strands. It is the dip net inside of us all that springs to life when cradling a fish. Embrace the stories and life teachings, the love between us, the nettle, and the fish. So I spent a lot of summers up in Bristol Bay in the Gulf of Alaska with FRI, and this is a poem called Projections. Model results are seldom certain, but probably right. The statistics were overcomplicated, but steeped in confidence. When I was at FRI, Bristol Bay hit 40 million. At home, where I was born, Oregon Coast Coho were only at 40,000. Holding hands with the golden-crested sparrow, I asked the small smolt below us, if we become too familiar with each other to measure accurately, how big, how many, and how long? The smile on the smolt responds, I trust you more than the shadow with the clickers. It scares me when I go through that damn fish ladder, and the tallies don't add up. It's ridiculous. And I sigh. We'd surveyed, measured, calculated, and regressed, and looked into the glass float to come up with the forecast. I asked the kingfisher, the water ouzel, the sculpin, and the elk, is it up, down, late, low? And they responded, could be anyone's best guess. So I do a lot of fish advocacy, and this is a poem about the future. Silver hair, wrinkled skin, eyesight shot, but not the vision. Here's a rocking chair tale about how it started happening, from sheer extinction to wild abundance, to distrust, to belonging and happiness. Last century, in 1997, when I was just a small boy, just 10 years old, the people got together and deemed endangered the ones here before us, the crimson salmon, their silver smolts. The consensus was our own poverty was honest. At one time, there were not enough left even for a subsistence harvest. Fights were formed, false dichotomies were thrown. Hey, which side are you on, I heard when I was young. The mythologies I'd been fed depended on oppression, but people wised up to the tyrant and asked barbed questions. Tired of being continually divided by occupation and sexual orientation, their race, gender, and religion wasn't the leverage to stop this revitalization. We started realizing the debate was predetermined, moderated by our own beliefs and opinions. And little 10-year-old me believed these fish's persistence. I just learned of these mythical silverfish and wanted to ensure their existence. The people started gathering to celebrate the migrations. They started marching in the streets with signs of protest that read, "Undam this damnation." There were ceremonies held on the beaches where everyone took flesh to their lips. When there was an act of violence against the salmon, vigils were witnessed. The people got organizing and meetings were set. They were ready when the Atlantic salmon got out in Puget Sound. Advocates rose up. They said no more to salmon in captivity. To cook aquaculture, your business is insanity. They said no more. Someone started the fishy leaks. The corruption was rooted out. Eventually it stopped because no one wanted to be caught with their pants down, red herring dangling, handcuffed, jailed, found in doubt. The BPA no longer fed electricity through the lines generated by grinding up baby salmon. Interests started coming together: community, courage, solidarity, the commercials, the Smarties, and the Indians. Agreeing to disagree on the small stuff, focusing instead on building bridges, unblocking barriers to the spawning grounds, and our collective regenerative interests. When the worries stopped and the allocations didn't matter, the Klamath dams were removed, the Snake, the Willamette, and the Pelton Round Butte thereafter. We avoided disaster when Pebble Mine was abandoned. We had a hell of a party to send them off with all their gold-digging propaganda. The forests were protected, the denuded landscape grew, the mayflies emerged again, and the salmon swam anew. And as I rocked in my wooden rocking chair in the year 2087, on my 100th birthday, I thought, not about what was left, but I thought about legacy and all those who played a part. The realization was not a lightning strike, but a growing awareness, a turning, a hope, like the small cardboard box that we found after the funeral, left in my grandmother's closet. The salmon uprising was like the note inside that we found next to the Afghan. It read, "For future generations, with love, Graham." The people's uprising was based on affection. This one's called Dams. Down the middle of the pothole street, surrounded by vacant lots of industrial wreckage, my love and I were holding hands, walking between homes made of shopping carts and tarps, walking away from the militarized dance as moss gathered below the chain-link fence. The site of the Superfund site loomed, where someone years ago intentionally planted a weeping willow, now illuminated in the street light along the Willamette. Taken from me then was the weight of all those cast aside, who don't have a tarp to pitch, who don't want to steal shopping carts, sleeping across the water from the twinkle lights. On the bench keeping company with sea lions searching for food, there were highways overhead with people racing in all directions, built upon layers of a civilization the most recent considered houseless. Unintelligible, pregnant, schizophrenia approached us. Big motorcycles circled, ambulance sirens, distress. There was a figure searching vacant brick walls with a flashlight just for the space to make a political statement. This is a climate in which attention must be paid. I later read and gravely understood the intention. And I think about what is going on underwater, that spring Chinook almost homeless, unable to reach the holy water. The upper Willamette is so much different than the lower. Are there underwater benches beneath the dams where the salmon huddle? Do they watch the spillway lights? Is there mental illness in these little fish caused by toxic algae water? We still have the dams to draw on, to draw down, to avoid irreparable harm. There are still waters above us, clean, cold, clear, where fish used to spawn. There's a lawsuit you should know about regarding broken promises, the Army Corps of Engineers and the National Marine Fisheries Service versus a few of us fish huggers. We need your help and your support. We need our culture, the fish, the water, and our own air. So write your senators, the congressional delegation. The Spring Chinook need you, like we need them, to be able to get above and below those Willamette dams. Thank you.